Welcome to Building Toronto's Skyline, a podcast exploring the current state of Toronto's construction and development industry from a unique construction perspective. Through engaging and entertaining podcast interviews with the many stakeholders in the industry, this podcast is brought to you by Fusion Corp, a construction management company. Here's the founder and CEO of Fusion Corp Developments, Inc., and author of Building Toronto's Skyline and Battle of the Skyscrapers, the host of this podcast, Nick Ainis.
Yeah, that's me.
Nick, how the heck?
Sound effects recently. So.
I know you got some sound effects there. How you doing, Nick?
I'm doing good. How about you, Mike?
Good. Should we tell the listeners of Building Toronto's Skyline that there is a new podcast they can subscribe to called Mike and Nick Left versus Right?
Funny you should say that. I was going to say that maybe we should tell them that we're introducing the Battle of the Skyscrapers podcast, right?
Well, you say that, and I'll say the other, and then we covered both bases.
At least, sorry. Yeah. Go ahead. Why don't you introduce a few things, Mike?
Okay, so I want to tell everybody listening, if they want more Nick Ainis, there's a new podcast launching called Battle of the Skyscrapers. Subscribe, listen, tell a friend or two. And of course, there is a brand new podcast where we talk politics. It's a bit of a Canadian perspective on things. It's called Mike and Nick Left versus Right. Subscribe, enjoy, and tell your friends and family about it.
Very exciting, yeah. And we're going to talk about it on the next time I come on Toronto Mike, eh?
Yeah, Toronto Mike, another podcast you ought to listen to.
When is that happening?
It's happening soon, brother, offline. After I've already heard some laughter from a third party during this intro, so somebody's raring to go, and we're going to set up that visit.
Here we go. Paul, how you doing, man? How's it going, buddy?
Fantastic. How are you? I'm glad it's Friday, that's for sure.
I think we all are. Get rid of this week.
Not in a bad way?
Yeah, so I mean, we live in the construction world, and it's a tough industry, as you know. And you should see what we have to go through every day. We go through the ringer, a lot of fighting and all sorts of fun stuff. It's challenging, it's exciting, but you know what? It can be very intense and stressful sometimes. So. Yes. So, Paul, thanks for coming to the show, and I want you to maybe you can just quickly introduce yourself. First of all, we probably want to get a little bit about your background. Are you from Toronto?
No, I was born and raised in Sudbury, Ontario. Actually, I moved to moved to Southern Ontario in mid-90s.
Awesome.
Yes. So. Background, born and raised in Sudbury, like I said, come from a heavy political family, so was around politics my entire life. Part of why I do some of the things that I do now, working with government. How do I explain myself? Kind of a sales guy through and through. That's what I've always been.
Yeah, I know you're a big sales guy, so I know how to sell. You're going to sell me something at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But so tell me, when you got to Toronto, did you get into your field of work because I know you're a big geothermal guy.
Yeah. So
and I want to hear a lot about that today. And then also I want to hear a lot about what you're doing right now as a consulting company. 100%. And we're going to get into that as well. But when you came to Toronto, did you get right into the construction industry, or did it take you some time? How did you get in the construction industry?
No, I did a few different things. I was in the textile leasing industry for like 8 years. That's where I really kind of learned some of my skills and honed them. And textile leasing, for those that don't know, it's like Cintas, UniFirst, companies like that. That's just hardcore selling. Worked in the stationary power industry for about 6 or 7 years. And then in 2012, had an opportunity to come into the geothermal space. And I was working with a company called Geosource Energy.
Right.
They're the largest commercial driller in North America. I was their director of advocacy and sales for whatever it was, 7 or 8 years. At the time, it was just that there wasn't a lot of geo. So I was one of those people that was in the trenches, built a fairly healthy network in the real estate space. I know a lot of the key players, a lot of the guys that I was working with back then, they're leading it now. So very
Great.
healthy network. And then a few years ago, I was asked to join the board of the Ontario Geothermal Association, and I was named president and chair in July of last year. And yeah, it's a passion
Very
of
exciting.
mine. I've been involved in some of the biggest geothermal projects in Canadian history. It's a big part of my blood.
Okay, so let's start with Geosource, right?
Well, GeoSource, that's where I started. I don't work for them.
Yeah.
I was with Stan for a number of years, yeah, and he was the former president of the OGA. He's one of the leaders in the industry.
So tell us a little bit about Geosource. How did you get there in the first place? Did you apply for a job?
I was looking for a job. Bit of a funny
Is it
story. I was called on an opportunity with them at the same time. I was playing a lot of poker, and the World Poker Tour wanted me to go pro, and I actually decided to go geothermal just to de-risk things. So yeah, and I started with him, and the rest was history. Helped him grow his company. Like I said, was involved in some of the biggest geothermal projects. Obviously, I worked for a guy that's a PhD in hydrogeology, learned a lot about geothermal, learned a lot about the real estate market, and it was an unbelievable learning experience. And to this day, Stan and I are
great?
still very good friends.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about geothermal and the technology and how does it work? Pretend we don't know anything about it. Actually, to be honest with you, I'm going to be very
Okay.
frank and clear. I have never done a geothermal project in my life.
I'm aware of that.
I've
So
done mostly simple, straightforward,
I-
traditional heating
I'm
systems.
I'm just gonna downplay it and then talk a little bit about the market. Basically, you're using the ground for storing your heating and cooling. At the end of the day, the ground, when you get to a certain temperature, it stays at a constant temperature, right? So you basically have loops that are in the ground. They're grouted into the ground. There's fluid that goes through those. You extract those into your building via a heat pump. That's the simplest way to
Very
explain it.
straightforward. Yeah.
It's really, really simple. In terms of the market, there are a lot of players in the market, right? There are a lot of
Right.
different drillers, utilities, contractors, and the market where it was when I came in versus where it is now, it's exploding. Now, I can't verify these numbers 100%, but we believe about 60 to 70% of the buildings that are currently being built in Toronto have geothermal in them.
Wow.
It's
That's a
it's
big number.
exploded. The climate movement, that's a big part of it. B, in Toronto, the Toronto Green Standard incentivized people to do that. C, there are geothermal utilities out there that will pay the capital cost for the system itself, and in turn, you just buy the energy out of that. Now, that was common with condos. We know the condo market has changed very dramatically over the last 18 months. But I would say 9 times out of 10, if there is a building of size being built in Toronto GTA, geothermal is now part of the conversation because the numbers are changing rapidly.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty interesting. And so tell us about tell us about a big project you've been involved in. So, all the things that I hear about geothermal is a lot of drilling.
Well,
And
that's
you got
your drilling pulls into the ground, right? You're normally
Yeah.
drilling them anywhere from 600 to
Are,
1,000 feet into the ground. And
are
depending
they
on the
drilling
size,
from the surface now, or are they getting to the footing level and they're drilling? Like what?
generally speaking, from a construction process, your geothermal drillers are first on site. They drill down, put the field under below grade. They cut the loops, they cap them, so there's no impact on construction. And then once the building's built, once you're getting into your slab, you run your pipes into the mechanical room. You tie them into the manifold, and you're off to the races.
Right, right.
So yeah,
Because there was always when I heard about these projects, there was a lot of drilling at the beginning that sort of disrupted the construction schedule, disrupted the process. You'd have to wait quite a bit of time for all the drilling to take place before you can get into your own
it
construction.
can. That's about sequencing on site and having them work in cohesion with the other trades. But the reality is, you can put the geothermal system in before anything else is built, right? Generally speaking, they go there, they put the field in, and the building goes on top of the field. So you can have it done right away, and the permitting allows for it. So
But
that's
if I'm
normally,
doing shoring, I just have a quick question. If I'm doing
yeah.
shoring and excavation, do I do that first, or do you drill first completely, then I do my shoring
You can
excavation.
drill from surface, go below grade, and then you can do everything after. Like I said, I mean literally
Can do
first.
everything after.
Yeah, correct.
You
That's
drill
normal.
first, then everybody else comes in.
That's the most common way.
And on a typical building, how many piles do you have to drill, or how many?
That's a loaded question. It's about the size of the building, the capacity needs, how tall is it? Can the geothermal manage the entire load? Can it not? So, like once you get into really big buildings, you may need a secondary redundant system. And there's not a hard cap on that. Again, when it comes to mechanical engineers, there's different theories as to what the balance should be. I'm not going to get into a technical dialogue on fields and sizes, but it's really dependent on the square footage of the building and the need of for the building for heating and cooling.
So with geothermal systems, is the energy free? Like, let's say I paid for the capital cost for the system.
It's free at that point outside of the electricity for your heat pumps, yes, but you have to balance it and everything else, right?
Yeah, and is there? You said there's a fluid that's introduced, or
Yeah, and there's different theories behind that. Some use a type of water, some use a type of windshield washer fluid. I'm not going to get into
like a
the
glycol
technical.
or something like that.
Yeah, it's glycol. Yes,
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of your listeners don't know what that is, so that's why I didn't want to say.
No, 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 for sure. So yeah, no, it sounds interesting. And so the model is that most people don't want to pay the capital costs, right?
Well, at the end of the day, it's more expensive, right? Our
Yes.
number one competitor as an industry is natural gas, and natural gas is cheap. But one of the best comments that I heard from one of my VPs on my board, he said if people would have thought about it 70 years ago, rather than running pipe across the country to have potentially explode if it goes near a flame versus putting some holes in the ground and heating and cooling your building, which one would you pick, right? Um, it's a lot safer with geothermal. Now, we don't see explosions all the time. I'm not saying that natural gas explodes, but it does, okay?
What was the most challenging or amazing project you worked on?
Oh my God. Well,
Pick
keep in mind,
one.
I'm not a driller, so I'm the guy that secured and then the drillers do it. There's a lot of different challenges when it comes to drilling because it's all based on geology, right?
Yeah.
So depending on where you are, there's different drilling techniques that have to be used. There, depending on overburden, which is the amount of stuff on top of the rock under the ground, that is a major variable. If you're going into the Canadian Shield, that's another variable. But the simplest way to explain it when it comes to cost is rock is your friend. So the closer to rock, rock is where the thermal conductivity is. So that allows you, when you don't have a lot of what's called overburden on top of the rock, that's a really great scenario. I'll give you
Go
an
ahead. Yeah.
example. If you're in Toronto, if you're down at, say, Lakeshore and Parklawn, you're about 30 feet to rock. So it's one of your optimal drilling conditions versus 2 kilometers away. If you go to Casa Loma, you got about 300 feet of crap on top of the rock. So you've got to put casing to secure that borehole while you're going down, and it doubles your cost. So
Hmm.
that's just the reality with geology. Versus there's times where you don't even know what's under there, right? Like there's a lot of history in terms of boreholes and test boreholes, but there's all kinds of unknowns under that ground.
So tell me, how did you go from? So you were at GeoSource for quite a bit of time,
Yes.
and how did that shape your vision, and how did it lead to other things?
Well, I once I left the industry, I did a couple of other things for a little while, and then I had an opportunity to start my own gig and be the entrepreneur, which I had never done. And you don't know how it's going to go when you start it, but I gave it a shot. Took me a little while to hone exactly where things were at, but I eventually figured out the model. And so there's kind of two things that I do. One is what I refer to as business development. And what that means is a company that has a product or service that checks off certain boxes. Normally, it's around energy efficiency, building technology, GHG reduction. They retain me to get audiences with the clients that I work with. I have relationship with most of the large scale real estate companies in the country, and that's multi-res, condo, purpose-built rental, commercial, low rise. I work with the majority of the big boys.
Hmm.
That model works well for everybody because generally speaking, the real estate company, it doesn't cost them anything. They're giving me their time. There are exceptions. There are real estate companies that have retained me to, they want more of my time because when you have a lot of processes and I'm able to find things that they can't find at times. So it works well. I've probably got about 15 or 20 clients on retainer now. And I haven't lost a client in 4 years, so I'm doing something right.
Give me an example of what you might do for a client without naming names.
Well, at the end, I'll give you an example. So there is a developer today. So this morning I had 4 meetings back to back with that developer. We brought in 4 different vendors. They were technologies that he wanted to apply. He's building a building in Toronto. He's breaking ground Q2. So there were some specific things. We generally speaking, when I'm talking to a developer, we talk about what their needs are, but also the roster of what I have and how can we match those things. So there were four meetings we had, each with a half hour. And I think of those 4, there's keen interest on all 4 of them. So now next step is there could be proposals. If it's a new technology, there could be piloting, whatever it is. So we work that process. I've got an amazing account manager, Caitlin, who's with me. And yeah, that's just the process. And we have some really, really cool technologies and products. The market's shifted, so I've had to shift my business. Obviously,
Are they related to the energy field, these technologies?
Some of them are like it's everything from EV charging to green roofs to energy efficient technologies that can reduce the building's costs by up to 23%. I have a client that's my cabinet and custom millwork client to HVAC solutions to I used to do a lot of work with embodied carbon, not doing as much of that now versus a cladding company that I work with that it's solar-based cladding versus. So I have a pretty good roster.
Nice, nice. These are the companies that you work with and promote some of their products to your different clients.
Correct. So
Yes.
real estate client X, they're always looking to improve things, and whether that's on product, vendor, or cost. And like I said, the market's shifted, right? 2 years ago, everybody was all about carbon reduction, energy efficiency, and cost wasn't as much of a concern. And then 18 months ago, the market took a turn and now it's shifted. It's about centralization, it's about cost, it's about how can we do this while not losing money or reducing our costs. And especially with the large scale real estate companies that have portfolios, when you're looking at something like even a rooftop RTU, right? Traditionally, they just give it to the contractor. A contractor marks it up 30%, versus now you go to a manufacturer, you're into millions and millions of dollars of savings. That's just one example.
Right.
So I have a roster of people that I work with. And then on the other side of it, I do strategy work, and that's generally speaking public sector. So I do a lot of work in the educational sector. I just finalized a major deal that took 4 years in the medical space last year. I've worked with a couple of municipalities. They've helped me with rollouts of green standards and that type of stuff. So yeah, I keep myself out of trouble.
That's good. That's good. So tell us a little bit about the association you're part of now.
Yeah, so that's the Ontario Geothermal Association. So as I said, I'm president, chair of the board, and really what we do, simply put, is we advocate for the industry, and that's just grassroots advocacy, right? So that is working with government, and whether that's around policy, regulatory, incentive, what have you, with current programs that are there, we're supporting those programs. We have a massive conference where we get information. So we got a big conference coming up in May in Toronto. So we're going to have between 500 and 1,000 people at that. And all the industry comes in and we bring people in from across North America. There's a lot of communication for the, go ahead.
No. Is this a national organization or?
No. It's so that is the Ontario Geothermal
You're
Association.
the Ontario chapter.
Yeah, there's 4 associations in Canada provincially. So there's ourselves, Quebec, Manitoba, and Western Canada. So one of my goals was unification. So we're working with those hand in hand. We're looking at doing some stuff with the feds right now. So we've signed MOUs and we're all working together, kind of uniting the industry. Yeah, it's about leading and growing the industry, educating if there's problems, doing what we can to help. It's construction, right? Stuff happens. So how can we make
Yep.
sure that people understand that geothermal is a very, very viable solution? And working with government to make sure they understand the technology, understanding what's needed to be able to have more uptake. There's a lot in low rise now. I'm sure you heard about the large home builder that did a big geothermal deal last year. They partnered with one of the big geothermal companies, so we're seeing some big uptake on the low rise side of things.
Wow.
And
So
that's
let me
I
ask
can
you
talk
that.
about that. That's Mattamy. That's public information. So
Okay.
Mattamy Homes is really trying to put geo in their low rises. They'll be speaking at our conferences coming up.
Are they going deeper, or are they going like, because you can do a loop outside your property, right? On
Right.
the
Yeah.
front lawn or something,
Yeah,
backyard or whatever.
there's different theories when it comes to low rise, but when you're looking subdivision level, it's a lot easier when you got a piece of land to go pop in a hole for every house and then just be off to the races, right? And I believe that's what they're doing
One
with
hole for every house. That's it.
yeah, it's depending on the size of the house, you normally put about a 200-foot borehole and you got your heating for your house.
So let's say I've got a 10,000 square foot house. What am I looking at
Okay,
there?
so first of all, I'm talking about new construction right now.
Yeah, I'm talking
Retrofit,
new
different.
construction too.
So you've got a 10,000 square foot house that you're building for yourself?
Oh, no, I didn't say that.
A 10,000 square foot house will probably need a couple of boreholes. I'm not going to do the
Can I
calculations.
run the whole thing by geothermal
Yes.
and get two pools in there too?
Yeah, it's probably going to cost you a couple of bucks, but yes.
Okay.
You can heat,
Is it worth it?
and cool your pool, right? But remember, your electricity. So, you got to figure
Well,
out.
I'll probably leave the pools out. Maybe that's a better idea.
There you go. Yes, but you are electrifying, no carbon with geo, obviously. But natural gas is cheap. That's our number one barrier, especially in the existing market. That's our number one challenge.
Yeah, well, you know what? The house is not near natural gas. How's that? It's
Oh, then it's a
propane.
no, like the lowest hanging fruit from a retrofit perspective is the rural, right? The houses that are electric, that are heated with oil heat or propane, like that's a no-brainer. The numbers, it's not break even, but the numbers are very, very good.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. So Matamy's getting involved in this. That's great.
They are big advocates of geo. They put it in where they can, subdivision level with their communities.
Yeah.
And yeah, there was a lot of press on that last summer. We are starting to see more press on geo in general. We just had another article in the Toronto Star on Monday.
Uh-huh.
So we're starting to see a lot of traction with the industry and the home builders that are not and builders that are not doing it. They're watching. They realize that things are changing. There's a way to do it where it's very cost effective. So even if they're not doing it, we're now seeing the developers that may not have done it or looked at it before. Now they're at least taking a look and trying to learn about it.
Yeah, that's cool. Maybe I should do the same thing. So yeah, no, it's very exciting.
The CMs and GCs, most of them know about it. I spend a lot of my time with CMs and GCs.
I always thought as like an inconvenience.
It's not.
Yeah. Well, you know what? We want to gear up and get going. We want to bring some major construction under the way, and then now we're popping all these holes before we start. So
Do you want me to tell you which of your competitors are doing it? Because I can do that.
yeah, I'd like to know. Sure.
No, I'm not
I'm
going
here
to
to
do it.
learn, and I'm here to get better, and I'm here to get smarter. So
There's a reason that you and I are going to get together and chat. But yeah, it's like some of the big projects I did. I worked with some of the largest GCs in the country. Most of those were done. I'm sure you've heard of PCL. They're this little contractor that do a couple of little things.
small company. Yeah.
Yeah, tiny, tiny. Like one of my biggest projects was the Corner Brook, Newfoundland Critical Care Hospital. It's the largest geothermal field in healthcare in Canada, and I also was involved in Peel Memorial here in Ontario. So those were pretty cool ones.
Very cool.
Yeah, there's a lot like right now a lot in public sector. Public sector always looks at it. Um, so like Osgoode Hall right downtown on University, that's got geothermal in it.
Great.
U of T, most of their they always put in geo whenever they can. Like they're huge fans of geo. And our conference that I just mentioned earlier, we're doing it at U of T main campus downtown because that's either the third or fourth largest geo field in Canada. So they put that in a couple of years ago. It's called the Landmark System. Amazing system.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what's the landmark system all about?
That's for heating and cooling one of their big buildings up at King's Circle. I'm going to screw this up and I'm going to get in trouble. It's several hundred boreholes. It's one of the cleanest geothermal systems I've ever seen. They have a whole tunnel leading up to it where you can see the system and how it works. They love to show it off.
Wow.
And then they built in a lot of other renewable technologies in there around EV charging. I think there's some battery storage there. There might even be some solar, but I could be wrong about that. And they're always willing to do tours. I just set them up. I think they're doing something through CMPX. I'm not
Yeah,
positive. I
yeah.
believe so.
So that's really cool. I like what I'm hearing here. I'm learning a lot, and like I said, I haven't been a geothermal guy. I
There's
probably
nothing
should.
wrong with that,
Probably
right?
should. No, no, because I mean, we go with like, all our buildings are like, developers who want to be very economical, and we'll pick systems that work for us. And heat pumps, just traditional,
Of course,
central systems with heat pumps or vertical fan coil units.
100%. That's
And
common.
that's what we've been doing. We've been working with VRF systems.
So there is VRF for Geo. The two better systems that I've seen. One of the projects I did that was a Mitsubishi system. I know Daikin has a VRF
Yeah,
system.
we use Daikin and
Yeah,
Mitsubishi as well.
yeah, exactly. So no, that's pretty common. Like one thing I find with the GCs and the CMs, as soon as you have a conversation with them and they realize who's actually doing it and how much traction there is, and they understand the simplicity of it, it kind of changes the perspective, right? And sometimes it's a matter of a simple conversation or a lunch and learn or whatever, or I bring in a technical expert to talk to you because sometimes you want to get into the weeds. And I joke with people, I am not the in the weeds guy. I am the advocate, I'm the talker, but I got my people that will come in and talk about the technical nuances
You're
of
the
the.
sales guy. You're
Yeah, I
the
try to
leader.
be. I try to be. I
You're
try
the
to be.
leader.
Yes.
So, how do you find various levels of working with various levels of government? I mean, I'm sure you have different political spectrums.
Yes.
Right now, you've got a liberal government in the federal level,
Yes.
and you've got the conservatives on the provincial level,
Yes.
and you've got red Toronto as well.
And I'm not gonna. I'm gonna be very, very careful here because obviously.
I would expect you to be, and I want you to be.
So I spent
But
a
I'm going to ask
lot.
you this question:
Yes.
do you find it differences across the political spectrum in terms of maybe conservative versus liberal? I know the liberals are all for it.
Here's what I
Do
will
you see?
say.
Do you see some conservatives that are we're for it, but
Okay, here's what I will say. The answer is yes to that question, but not like the U.S. Okay, in the United States, the division down there is much worse than what
right,
we have here. Like to give you an example, with the current provincial administration, when they came in, they dismantled a lot of the things that were happening from a climate perspective, things like green on, cap and trade. And I was very involved in getting those programs designed. And so at that point, we thought there was not going to be any traction, but then political winds can change. And I'll even give Doug Ford props because he's looked at things a little bit differently. And in turn, they're less resistant to
right,
looking at the technologies versus the feds are 100%. They are supportive, but I think the days of climate change is a hoax. It's not a thing. Those days are gone. And I think people realize that stuff's happening, and we probably should do our part to try and at least make this country a little bit, this world a little bit better for people.
well, there's nothing wrong with making the world healthier and safer.
Yes.
Doesn't hurt.
If you ever
So
want to do the political conversation, I am happy to
we'll
do
have a
that.
beer. We'll have a beer, and
I I
we'll
spend a lot of
trash
time
talk
with
everybody.
I spend a lot of time with a lot of politicians. I brief a lot of
Oh,
them.
cool,
I have a
cool.
lot of, like I said, I come from a very heavy political family. My uncle was a federal cabinet minister. My cousin was the mayor of my hometown. I had a second cousin that was a senator. Like I've been around it my entire life.
Wow, sounds interesting.
Yeah.
We'll discuss that one over a beer.
Several beers.
Yeah, several. Okay. I'll have one, you can have two.
I am more than okay with that.
No problem, no problem.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's very interesting. So would you call yourself an environmentalist? Like, is that your is that your passion?
I would call myself an advocate. I'm a guy that wants to be able to do my part, but I'm only one person. And if through my leadership in whatever sphere that I'm doing that, if I can do my part to encourage other people to make the world better, I am happy to do that.
Right.
And yeah, so I am an advocate for, but I'm not what you would call a tree hugger. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm realistic that
I wouldn't be going out with you for a beer if I found you were a tree hugger.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. That's
No.
just a joke.
You know, I
But
get
I
it.
think that's a good. You advocate for the environment and all this stuff, but you are not, you're practical about it.
I'm realistic to what drastic system change means, right? Like, I believe that there's space for everybody. I don't go in and say only geo, only geo. I say, you know what, there's other technologies, and geo is not the right solution every single time. That's reality. There are hardcore people out there that will say, just turn off the natural gas tomorrow and we'll figure it out. And that's unrealistic. But then at the same time, Enbridge will say, well, and they've said it more than once, natural gas is here forever. And my response normally is, well, that's what the coal guys said. It's a fine balance of how can we make change where it doesn't have negative impact on the grid, on humanity, on local, national, whatever it is, right? It's about a balancing act, and making sure that all stakeholders are able to work together to do the right things.
Interesting. How much time do you spend on your business versus you spend at the association? Is it?
Well, that's the.
Or you're not allowed to say either.
No, I can
30,
say that. Let's
30,
just
30, 70.
My friends and clients, they give me shit all the time. Pardon my language, because my life balance is not perfection. Because like the OGA role, it's a voluntary role, so I don't get paid for that. But I probably put in about 20 to 30 hours a week on that. And then all the other time goes to my business. And then there's some other initiatives that I'm involved in, networking events that I co-chair and different things. So I'm a pretty busy guy.
Well, I was right. I guessed it, right? 30%. I was right on.
Yeah, I spend.
You said 20 to 30, but it's probably 30.
Yeah. Yes. Right now is a lot because we got our conference coming up. So we're spending a lot of time on that. And then I've got a monthly, I'm going to do a plug if that's okay. I'm co-chair of an event called Toronto Green Drinks. That's a monthly networking event. So I got 200 people.
Sorry, so slow down a bit. Toronto.
Oh, sorry. I co-chair an event called Toronto Green Drinks.
Wow.
It is a monthly networking event. Traditionally for the sustainability community, I've been co-chairing that for about 10 or 11 years now. Yeah. We get everybody from your sustainability guys to your real estate guys to your engineers, architects, advocates. We got a good mix and a different mix every month.
That's cool.
We average 200 people a month. And then a couple of times a year, we do massive events and we get 500. So wow. It's a well-attended event. I will convince you to come out. Well, you're a celebrity, so I've got to convince you. We do it the third Wednesday of every month at Grace O'Malley's.
That sounds very cool.
It is. Cool. It's a lot of fun.
I'd love to talk to you about events too, because we should talk after this. So, yeah, that's great. So, tell me about now. Back to your consulting business. We're learning all sorts of great information here, which I find amazing. So, let me just. So, I'm a construction management company.
Yes.
How are you gonna? I go to you and I say, Paul, we got to work together. I don't care how, but how are you going to help me, Mr. Construction Manager? So you can help me on my jobs, maybe. You can help some of my clients. Is that true?
That is correct. So everybody looks at things a little bit differently. Some construction companies control everything. Some don't control everything. And so it's really depend on your level.
Well, it depends on the client sometimes.
Correct.
Too.
Correct.
So there's jobs where I control almost everything. Like
Correct.
I'm the developer
Yeah,
almost.
exactly. So I'll give you an example. So I spent a lot of time towards the end of last year with one of the largest CMs in the country, and how we looked at it. So first thing I do is you and I will sit down. I'll come in and meet with you and your team, and I'll say, here's talk to me about what you guys do, what your needs are, what your clients' needs are. But at the same time, I'll run through my roster, right? So here's some of the things. Here's why you might want to look at it. Here's why you wouldn't want to look at it. And there's stuff that may not make sense to you that I wouldn't bring to you. If I have a solution that is, let's just say, a retrofit driven solution and you're not doing retrofits, I'm not going to present that to you. So,
Well, we happen to do a lot of adaptive reuse. So
right. So, I have different pools that I work with. So here, I'll do a couple of examples, right? So one of my good retrofit products that a lot of my clients work with, it's a window coating product. Am I allowed to say company names or no? What are the rules? Sorry.
the rules are there are no rules.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure. So no, this is one they've been with me since day one, actually. They're a
Mhm.
company called Synergy, and it is a window coating product. So when I say that, you probably think of the 3M stuff that gets glued on the outside of the windows.
Not necessarily. No.
Okay, but that's their competitor, let's say.
Yeah.
This is a product that gets painted on the inside of the window, blocks
Yeah.
99.9% of UVA, UVB, 75% light transfer. You're looking at a 20 to 30% reduction in your energy costs, your HVAC costs, because you're basically
That's
keeping the heat
great.
trapped. And the payback on it's around five years. It's a great product.
That
Like
sounds
that's
pretty
one
interesting.
example of one
Yeah.
retro thing I got.
So that's so you introduce certain products for certain
Correct. And
clients and maybe construction managers.
correct. And I would have a different process for a CM or GC versus an engineering firm versus a developer versus low rise and mid rise. Like I've got product that doesn't make sense for low rise versus makes all kinds of sense for high rise. And I've changed. I have to change my roster based on what's happening in the market. I've had to pivot. Everybody's pivoted right now.
So is it only you help in that regard with products, or do you also help? Let's say, hey, I need to get a face to face with Mister Mike. You there?
I'm here.
Toronto Mike.
Yes, sir.
So I am a facilitator, I am a matchmaker, and I am a guy that has some really, really good solutions, right? So every situation is different, every client is different. So let's just say I have client X that wants to work with me that has a product, and I have a waiting list of clients, right? So
Yeah.
I look at everything, and even if I think it's the best product in the world and it's going to make the most sense, I still have to have a strategy session. I have to find out who do they want to get to? What is your angle going in? Can I get you to those people? Do I believe that you're going to mesh with the developer? Because the developer relationships, they're 10 plus year relationships. I know these people inside and out. I know their personalities. I know what they're looking for. And I talk to the developer to find out what they're looking
Right.
for because I'm also keeping my eyes open for things that they tell me. And then at the same time, developers will call me and say, hey, Paul, I got a problem. Can you help me? And 9 times out of 10, I have a big enough network that I'm able to make a phone call and solve that problem for them.
So I'm going to ask you this question just because I'm still trying to figure out your consulting business. But the retainers,
Yeah.
are they
So,
from the product people,
yeah, that's the product people now.
people that pay you?
Yeah, they're the people that pay me. There are exceptions, okay? Once a developer starts working with me, and if all of a sudden they love everything I have and we have a lot going on, they will at times come to me and they'll retain me because they want some of my time, because they'll also get me to try and source things for them, or they may want me to help them with their sustainability strategy, that type of thing. So
Right.
there are
Right.
developers that will retain me, but I would say 80% from a business development standpoint, that is the company that has the product or service that I'm bringing them to market. That is their value, because based on what I charge, you cannot hire somebody to do what I do. You cannot hire somebody that can get you to who I can get you to for the amount of money you pay me. I'm
Do you
like,
know? Do you know Mario Ribeiro? Triumph.
I know that name for sure.
Well,
From
he
who?
does solar and some geothermal and stuff like that too.
So I work, well, so one of my clients is the largest solar and battery storage company in Canada. So I know the solar space well. I've worked with a couple of different companies.
Right.
I know that name, Mario Riviera. What's the name?
Ribeiro. Well, I guess what I'm getting at is, like, let's say, are you sort of once you sign up with one type of product, you're kind of exclusive to that?
Yeah, I'm very careful with that.
Yes.
And there are companies I won't work with. Like I'm a very transparent guy. I'm very black and white, and I will not put myself in a position of conflict. So as an example, I'm the president of the Ontario Geothermal Association. I cannot have a ground source heat pump manufacturer on my roster because now I'm picking a winner. I can't do that. That's a conflict of interest, right?
Right.
So I'm always very cognizant of kind of who I'm working with. I de-risk everything. I'm a strategy guy, and I want to make sure I deliver.
Yeah.
But I have the reason people like working with me. So first of all, I don't
You
do
like beer.
contracts.
You like beer.
I like alcohols too, but I also hate contracts. So I say to openly, it's like I'm a month-to-month guy. You shouldn't be stuck with me because of a piece of paper, and vice versa. I don't want to be stuck with you. So it has to work both ways. There has to be synergies between me and the client, but also I have to know if there's going to be synergies between the client and the developer, right? So it's a whole process, and it's worked okay.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I'm very. I didn't know much about you going into this. Like I did some research, obviously.
Yeah.
And but I'm very intrigued now, and I think you can help my business, and I think we need to set up a meeting.
100%.
And talk a little bit about all the things I'm doing, what you're doing. This is very exciting.
I have fun, buddy. I have fun.
And I think, like, as builders, we have to. Right now is a tough market. Right now,
it is.
It's very tough. It's very bad. It's brutal. But you know what? Here's the opportunity. Change everything we're doing today. Start thinking. Be more competitive. Start thinking of things that are going to take you over the top, or people are going to get excited about what you're doing. And if you're in an innovative company, I think that'll attract a lot of people. So
I agree.
That's what we're trying to do right now.
I agree with you, and I would say this: whether it's a person or a company, right? You have to have a brand, right? And what is your brand, and what are you doing, and how are you adjusting that brand to accommodate market change, right? So right now, the market is not great. Now there are certain elements of the market that are not as bad. Condo market dead. I said 18 months ago when people said, "What do you think?" I said, the market's going to drop 40% and you're not going to have another new condo go to sale until 2030. And everybody thought I was crazy. People don't think I'm crazy now because I don't believe anything will go to sale. And I hate to say it, you've still got 70,000 empty condos in Toronto. And even though the market has dropped 20%,
it's still bad.
It's very bad. And I know the numbers in terms of the builders and developers and what percentage of sale they're getting to. It's not good right now. So home sales are bad too. There's still some being bought, but they're really relooking at their business models and how can we change it to be more competitive, or what do we have to change? And a lot of this is driven by government, but it's just the market is not fantastic versus. I was with a major developer this morning, and they've done a lot of different things. So they're building student housing now because that's something that we still need.
They're pivoting for sure.
Affordable housing is something we still need.
We're doing affordable housing. We're doing rental. We're doing some, restoration, renovation of older condos, older apartment buildings. So we're pivoting now.
And developers.
We're looking at hotels, long-term care, all these things that we can. That is like very similar to a residential multi-unit building.
You got it.
That's kind of how we're pivoting.
And that's what most of the development community are doing. If you build condos, you are pivoting and you're looking at going to purpose-built rental, so long as SBA will allow for it and you can make that change. There are buildings that were slated to be built as condos that they're trying to figure out how can we make that a rental building. There are a couple of big boys that are riding it out that are not pivoting, but I would say we're 90-10 rule on that. Like most of them, they're pivoting.
Yes, I see that.
So,
listen, Paul, this has been awesome show.
I agree.
I've had a lot of fun, and I learned quite a bit of stuff. And I think we just hit the like, you know, just the beginning in terms of our conversation. And 100%. I'd love to talk to you more.
This was just the amuse bouche. We haven't even had the appetizer yet, buddy.
That's great. That's great. I want to go to one of your events too, so count me in. I'll definitely.
We'll talk offline after this. I got one coming up soon. I'd love to have you come out.
I'll be there. So, Mike, over to you. Let's. Paul, great show, great conversation, lots of information, and more to come. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you so much, sir.
And thank you for listening to Building Toronto's Skyline, a podcast exploring the current state of Toronto's construction and development industry. Proudly brought to you by Fusion Corp Developments, Inc. Please share, like, and subscribe. See you again in 2 weeks.